Hello everyone, happy Friday. I will go ahead and tell you guys this is the first time that I have gone live since dealing with my lovely poison ivy-ness. I kind of feel like I'm cosplaying as poison ivy today. My name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, and today is Pink Sheep and Friends Friday. I have a few quick announcements for you guys. We have a big announcement. So the first announcement is that we have an announcement that is going to be coming up on May 1st. If you guys watched the reel that I just posted this morning, if you know, you know, we have something that's happening. Like I said, it's going to be officially announced in May. You guys may already know what it is, but we are super excited to actually make that official announcement on May 1st. So if you guys have never seen the captain in person, usually he makes an appearance for these kinds of announcements. So you guys may get to see him on May 1st. I wanted to also let you guys know that our newest hook color is going to be coming up next Friday. So we're going to have a shop update next Friday with our newest crochet hook color. This is a smaller release. So if you guys end up liking the color, I should be doing a kind of a teaser post early next week so that you guys can see what the color is going to be. But like I said, it's a smaller release. So if you really like it, it's a different color from anything that we've done in the past. So if you like it, then you'll have to kind of jump on it quick to make sure that you get the sizes you want. What else? I did release my 5th tarot card design in the Fiber Arts collection. If you guys did not see the post yesterday, this is the Stitcher. So this is the 5th tarot card design in the Fiber Arts series. Super excited for that to be live now. I do have the 6th one already going in my head. So I'm excited to hopefully release at least 2 or 3 new tarot card designs this year. Usually it's maybe like once a year, but I feel like I'm on a roll, so hopefully I can keep that going and we can get a 6th one ready to go. All right, what else? For anyone who loves the color purple, I did want to let you guys know that I added purple lucite forks. So if you guys have been wanting a purple lucite fork to use to make I-cord, these are restocked in the shop, as well as our gauge squares. So if you guys have never used a gauge square, these make it super simple to check your gauge when you're making a swatch. And we have the purple ones back in stock. I think we have 3 or 4 of them. So these are in there. And if you love our stitch markers, we also have our purple cat stitch markers restocked as well. So anyone who loves purple, we have the majority of our purple tools back in stock. And I think, trying to make sure that I did all of the announcements. Again, my name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design. If you're just joining in, this is my regularly scheduled Pink Sheep and Friends Friday chats. These Friday chats are focused on introducing you guys to new designers and new people within the Fiber Arts community, getting to know them a little better, seeing where they get their inspiration from, and just having a fun friend chat. I felt like this is something that I didn't see a lot of out there, and I wanted to do more of it, and I really enjoy it. I love getting to have a reason to reach out to people that maybe I've been following for a long time, or maybe I just found here on Instagram or on another platform, and giving them an opportunity to share a little bit more about themselves, and for us to also share audiences and yeah, get to know each other and make new friends. So today we are going to be meeting Emily of Cosmo Knits, and if you guys don't follow her, wow, she makes some of the most amazing teeny tiny little bitty creations, which I thought is so funny because, you know, I work with the exact opposite, and I make the huge, chunky, crazy jumbo creations with the largest yarn that I can find in most cases. So I figured it would be really fun to chat, you know, and figure out where her inspiration comes from and what made her want to work with such teeny tiny little yarn. So I believe she is already here. So I am going to invite her to join. And thank you guys all for joining in today. Maybe I will have less of all of this stuff happening soon. We'll see.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. When I came on, I knew I was like, it's going to be really weird coming on with like all this crap all over me. But I was like, this is real life, you know, like, and sometimes we can't just put our life on hold because we have poison ivy.
I hope you're doing okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's getting better. It's been a week, but I mean, I think for anyone who gets this knows that it can take 2 to 3 weeks just to get clear. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. It just doesn't go away. So I just, you know, try to keep everything dry and
You look great. It looks great.
Hey, thanks. It's just, you know, I'm starting a new trend. This is, you know, the new trend.
Perfect.
Well, how are you?
Doing good. I'm a little nervous still, but I'm doing good.
Don't be nervous.
I'm happy to be here.
I get usually really, really sweaty on lives, like if I am nervous.
Yeah, I'm like, I should have
just air it out.
Down the thermostat before I came on.
Well, I'm super, super excited that you were able to join me today because and again, usually I'm not really sure how long I've been following people, but I feel like I've been following you for a while, and I just thought your stuff, it's so eye-catching because it's so little.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you can show?
I have my little work box right here next to me.
That would be awesome.
Little like embroidery box. I mean, so my collection for April has been these little teddy bears. Let me see.
Oh my gosh.
Hold them up here. I get this hand-dyed embroidery thread from a lady named Chrissy. She's actually redoing her business kind of right now, but that's where I get like, and I only use it for these little teddy bears that I do every so often. So that's special. I think it's Drewby Zoo made this pattern for this banana, and it's like a bunny that's a banana. It's like in a little banana.
So funny.
So I did a couple of those. Those take a long time, so I didn't really lift very many of those. I have this little chameleon guy. It's not. It doesn't want to focus on it. Now I feel like one of those like beauty gurus. Like, look at my product. Then I have this little this one's kind of hard to hold up, but it's like a little ladybug.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so tiny. It's like real size.
Yeah. It's tiny crochet, but it's like a little bigger than a real ladybug. I do like different, I guess you could call them collections, like different items each month. And then I have 2 like restocks or shop updates every month with those items. So every like 2 weeks or so. And yeah, I kind of switch it up mostly just so I don't get burnt out. But I think there's also that like collectability factor, I think that people like to do. And so I do bring back certain items every like the teddy bears I do every couple of months whenever I want to buy new thread from Chrissy at that shop I talked about. So but yeah, so that's been fun. I remember the first time I reached out to you, I think I commented on one of your posts and I was like, I really want to buy one of your sweater patterns and make it in thread because it would literally be like this big, because when you work in such thicker yarn, that's actually the patterns I look for when I'm making the little stuffed animals. Is I'm looking for people's patterns who are using like the super bulky, not quite as like maybe the size that you use, but like the velvet yarn that's really bulky, or the burnout blanket, I think is the one I usually search. And that's because since the yarn's so big, the stitch count is lower. And when I'm making stuff, I try not to go over a circumference of like 24 stitches.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of the patterns I think that's how I found your page initially, is because I was just trying to look for patterns on Instagram and I was like, ooh, this looks really cool. And I really liked all of your just your style and stuff. Like it's
well, we both go for a lot of color,
yeah,
which is really nice.
yeah,
And I love having like a colorful feed and like following people with colorful feeds. And
yeah,
I struggle a lot with color matching. So like
me
picking
too.
2 or 3 different colors. And so I follow a lot of people who use a lot of colors so I can see like how they're pairing colors together and like what their eyes are
There's
drawn to.
a couple of files that I follow that are just like color palette people.
Oh, that's smart.
Color
yeah.
palette. And I try to, so like every month when I do my different collections, I try to make all the colors I'm using at least match each other, because it just really helps with photographing the items. When I do have a restock that day, I always post all of the items like in my hand, and that's way everybody can see them all together. And so I don't know, it sounds a little weird because it's like, it's not like everybody's going to buy every single thing in the collection, but it's like when you're photographing, you want everything to like look nice together. And I have like a hard time with that too, trying to find like good colors that go together. But yeah.
Let's see. Dawn said, just joining, what happened to you, Evelyn? Yes, I have poison ivy, which everyone knows. It's all over me. It's on my stomach. I mean, it's just wearing lots of, I don't know what happened. I mean, that's what, I have a friend who's a nurse, and she was like, did you roll in it? I was like, it sure seems that way. But I mean, I don't remember rolling around on the ground in the last couple of days. But we've been working in the yard. It's springtime. It's spring cleaning, where we've got chickens coming in the next like week or so. So like working on a chicken to just cleaning things up. And I know that we have a lot of poison ivy and poison oak in our yard. So either it got on me somehow, or it got on the dog and I touched the dog, or my husband got it on him and I touched him. I don't know. Yeah. And then it just spread. So, but we're getting through it, you know? And I realized, I'm going through the comments to make sure that I did not miss anything. Made by Mary Bird said, I need a tiny crocheted ladybug, in all caps. Let's see. Can you show the banana and the bunny, please? So if you can show that one again. Somebody wanted to see that one again.
I don't know how to see. Now that I've pulled up the comments on my screen, I can't get rid of them. Not that I mean, like, it's actually just a join. It's like everybody's joining. That's okay. Yeah. I can see my camera. Okay, this is the bunny.
There we go. Yeah.
Kind of like blurry because my camera doesn't want to like. Yeah. There we go.
Instagram is not the most friendly with
And he comes out of his little banana thing. So if you crochet, this pattern is by, I think it's Drewby's Zoo, but I have them tagged in the post with this, so you can just go and find their profile on that post. But I also, this gave me the idea to do a along with another person who I talk to often on Instagram. Her name's Amy from Tiny Toy Studio, and she said, she's like, you should do a bear nana. And I realized that the teddy bear pattern that I wrote fits like perfect inside of here.
Oh, so that's
like
awesome.
And a colored bear.
Yeah.
A bear nana next, because that would be very cute too.
So I realized I totally skipped your intro. Yeah. I mean, I said who you were, but really quick, just in case if anyone's here and they don't know who you are, if you could just do a quick intro of who you are and what you do, even though we've seen some of it. But
yeah, so my name's Emily, and my shop and my page is called Cosmonits. It's Cosmonits Creations on Etsy. Somebody actually took my Cosmonits name like 12 years ago. They never even listed anything. So I couldn't put it on Etsy, but that's okay. And I've been doing this full time for about a year now. I started
That's amazing.
I started in my Instagram about 2 years ago, just to kind of share projects I was working on, while just kind of like projects for fun, like normal crochet stuff. And then when I started doing the micro crochet, I don't know, it just kind of like blew up from there. I used to do TikTok. I still have a TikTok account under the same name. You can watch time-lapse videos of me doing the micro crochet, but step back from TikTok. It's personally for me, it just became a really negative way to interact with people. And I like how it was set up. There was a lot of bizarre criticism I would get on there, and it just didn't seem like
Yeah.
a very positive place anymore. So I kind of quit making videos and posting on there, but all my videos are on there if you want to see them. They're kind of cool to watch. I actually have an aerospace engineering background, so that's what I graduated in 2020, which was the worst time to graduate from college and get a career. And in the meantime, I kind of just started focusing on crochet, and it really had nothing to do with micro crochet at first. I thought maybe I will get into making videos on YouTube, maybe make tutorials. I had written a couple of patterns already. Those are always in my Etsy shop, which I'm sure kind of confuses people because they're like regular crochet patterns, and there's no type of things here. And yeah, so I just kind of started messing around with that. And then I was cleaning out some of my old stuff, my grandma's old stuff. I found these really tiny crochet hooks she used to make lace with. And instead of making lace, I wanted to make tiny stuffed animals. So it kind of started from there. I joined a couple of like miniatures groups on Facebook, people who make like dollhouse stuff and just some like general like tiny things groups. And yeah, that's kind of how it just kind of like went from there. I have no idea what I'm doing any given day. I'm just kind of like figuring it out as I go. I never really got into making videos on Instagram. It still really confuses me. People say that's the only way that the algorithm picks you up anymore. I haven't really had that issue, but I don't know. Everybody's so different. It like just doesn't even make sense to any of us. I think we're all just kind of trying to do what works for our own individual brands. That's been difficult. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I hope that
good. Well, and I think you're doing exactly what you should do, which is, you know, you don't want to force it. So like if you're sitting there trying to create videos, you're going to spend more time making these videos that you're unsure about and then posting them and potentially not getting the results that you feel like you should get for putting the effort in. I mean, obviously I think time lapses of your stuff would be super cool.
I thought about kind of slowly bringing the ones that are on TikTok over into my Instagram. I think because like I do get a lot of questions if I make videos, but I don't know. There came a point when I just realized how long it took to actually make something, filming it, and I don't think it doesn't seem that way, does it? You're like, oh, I'll just set up a camera and just make it the same way, but I don't think it really works that way for anybody. And especially with the micro crochet, I mean, I'm usually when I'm crocheting, it's kind of like close to my face, you know? So it's hard to do it like through the view of a camera. And I'm like, don't even know if I'm any good at this. And so I've kind of abandoned that for now, but I might get back into it eventually. We'll see.
And someone did ask, how long does it usually take you to make one of your minis? I know it depends.
Yeah. Does depend on the item, but I try to pick patterns that will take me anywhere from like 30 minutes to 2 hours. And that way I'm getting a good profit for my time. Because especially since I do this full time, it's something I have to think about when I choose patterns. And now when I look at stuff, I can kind of estimate how long it'll take me. But yeah, so I won't usually pick anything that'll take me over 2 hours. The banana took me an incredibly long time, and a lot of people wanted one, and I wasn't really sure if anybody was going to buy them for what I did to list it for to make it worth my time. I'm really pleasantly surprised that both times that I had listed a couple in my shop, like I couldn't even refresh my page before they were gone. Like I'm always shocked to sell out. I think even after a year of doing this, every time I have like a restock day, I'm like, this isn't going to work. Nobody's going to like it. Nobody's going to buy it. I'm going to have to like find something else to do with my life, and it all really surprises me. I think we all have a lot of that self-doubt, and it just like hasn't really quite like gotten away from me yet. I still get really nervous every time I list things, like just hoping that it's going to do well. So thankfully it has so far. So I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think finding something that is such a niche item that you're creating, and I love that you really create this like collectible feel, like when you're doing the little bottles and like, you know, you have a few items where like it comes with something that kind of creates this displayable
Yeah.
piece. You
So
want to talk about that a little bit?
comes in a clear lip gloss container, like the little screw ones, and that started just because I didn't want them to get squished in the mail.
Yeah.
But I
Yep.
realized that a lot of people were using that and keeping it in their purse or their pocket, whatever, and they were just taking it around town with them to work, whatever. And they're like, yeah, I just pull it out whenever I need a little smile, and that made me so happy. That's been like the best part of my job, is just like just knowing that like my stuff like brightens people's day is really, really nice.
Well, and I love how, and you know, you hear this when like if you're reading about marketing your business or, you know, trying to figure out ways to continue to kind of grow and talk about what you make. And how awesome is it when your customers figure out a marketing plan for you? So like now you can market it as like pocket friends. Like you can keep this in your pocket because people were already doing it. So it just makes it, you know, it's easier to talk about it because you know that that's how people are talking about it already.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really cool. That was one of the negative things about TikTok, was people were like, I don't get it. This is stupid. What's the point? Like it was a lot of stuff like that. And I'm like,
yeah,
I know how to justify it. It's just something cute to look at the end of the day, you know. And some people appreciate that and some people don't. And that's totally okay. We all have our different stuff. But yeah, I think it's been kind of like, I mean, I thought especially during the pandemic that it wouldn't have taken off the way that it did, but I think that like, and I've noticed in my own purchasing habits of like things that I wouldn't buy, that, you know, I think it's like those little things that you get for yourself that just kind of make you feel good. And I've noticed that I do that, you know, regardless of what's going on. I'm like, well, I just want that little thing that's gonna pick me up, you know, like stuff like that. So
yes. Well, and I've had, I feel like I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't get a lot of negative criticism on TikTok, but I didn't grow a lot on TikTok. You know, I opened it just to see, you know, what it was like and to have a presence there. But I feel like Instagram so far, unless I have a video that truly does go viral, so like obviously Instagram's just feeding it to who the heck ever, and I'll get really weird comments. Usually it's because my hooks sometimes tend to look like things that aren't meant for crocheting. So I get a lot of comments about that.
Of course.
One of those goes viral. But luckily Instagram has been very supportive, and I feel like you do have a choice of who you follow, and you know, and if I get spam, I just block people if it's spammy content, if they're trying to reach out to me. But luckily it's been pretty positive, and I hope you've had that same experience now that you've kind of gravitated to this platform.
There's definitely been like some hiccups here and there, but yeah, I mean, if things kind of start getting negative, I'll just block that person. Unfortunately, I'll be like, well, I mean, unfortunately, I don't really like, I've built this like little community where we're all just like excited about stuff. I try like in my like, you know, like ask questions that people can answer comments, or just, you know, even just like wishing everybody like a nice weekend. I think stuff like that is important to like kind of stay connected with those people who have been supporting you. I mean, without any of those people, I wouldn't have my business. And so I try to like always be appreciative of that. But yeah, I think it's been, I think there's always a specific type, like younger people, like really younger, like teenagers. I get a lot of criticism from those people. And then also much older people in my own community who just really criticized me for pricing and things like that. And I don't know if it's more of a like, well, I couldn't make this work, so I don't want it to work for you thing, or if it's something else, I don't know. But yeah, I'll usually just kind of, or if I don't want to block the person, I'll just delete their comment from the post and get rid of it, because I will have people who are so kind and they'll defend me to other people, but I don't, and it's not that I don't want that, I really appreciate that, but then it's just kind of like building on that one negative comment. So if you just get rid of it, you don't have to look at it anymore.
Yeah, I think pricing is really interesting, because I think almost all of us are going to underprice ourselves at first. And I truly believe that until you are fully supporting yourself and paying your bills with your business, you realize how much you do have to charge. Because it's like, if I want to run this business, if people want to see me continue to be successful, then I do have to charge more. I have to be able to support myself, because if I end up having to go get a second job or go get a full-time job, then this is not going to be what it is now. Maybe it'll still exist in a way. But I know we saw that a lot. We finally, just before last year, I think right before Christmas time, I made an announcement. I said, okay, after the Christmas cutoff, prices are going up. So like, you guys have until you can order your Christmas gifts at last year's prices. But like, you know, we hadn't raised our prices at all since going full time. And, you know, the costs of everything have gone up. Of
course,
we have to say, okay, and unless we're going to go get another job, we have to up our prices a little bit. And it makes it easier to do so, because you realize, like, this has to happen for me to stay in business.
And I've noticed that the people who do order from me, they're not the ones criticizing it. You know,
of course not.
Fine. They want to buy my stuff. They're super supportive of, like, I don't get messages from people who end up placing orders that are like kind of like nasty or anything about it, you know? And so that's why I don't usually, I used to justify myself a lot. Well, I deserve just as much as anybody else does. And this is pricing because of A, B, C, and D. And I realized that, like, I don't want to convince somebody to buy something from me because it's not genuine. Like, I don't want to tell you, like, why you should, you know, if you want it, then you want it. Don't, like, I don't want to, like, sit here and feel like I'm forcing you to buy something from me. You know, if it's not right for you, then it's not, and that's totally okay. I think with my stuff, it's a little easier to raise prices since I do different items every month. It's not like the same thing costing more at some point or like the next month to the next. I think that's easier since I'm doing, but it's usually been pretty small increases, like $3 to $5 here and there for certain, you know, just so that I can make sure, because it's not just about what you're giving yourself an hour. I mean, you need to put aside money for taxes. That's something I calculated last year. I had a little mental breakdown at the beginning of the week because I just filed, and, you know, that's something you have to think about too when it comes to your prices. I mean, I've all but quit posting on Facebook for the most part, because I've tried to kind of like help out when people ask pricing questions for their own business, and I just get like really like it handed to me every time about how, like, oh, you're overcharging, like, that's despicable, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm like, I don't think it's that bad, like, my God. But some people they feel very strongly about it, and like I said before, unfortunately, it's mostly been people in our own community who do it as a hobby, or maybe you're like, well, they're like, well, this is just a side income, so I don't need to charge that much. And I totally get that perspective, but I also get the perspective of people who think maybe it kind of, you know, when one person is pricing low and one person's pricing high, it's sort of, a lot of people have said, like, it devalues the handmade community, but I don't know if I fully agree with that, because I get it. Sometimes you just want this little side income. You don't need to make a lot of money for it. And I really don't think there is like a perfect answer for everybody, which makes it really hard it's a whole mindset for sure. And you know, knowing what goes into it, like you said, talking about taxes, that's a big deal. Like, luckily we went into our first full year of working with that mindset, and we're able to set aside enough and didn't have the stress. But it takes time to like get to that point where you know how much you're going to need, and like you have to plan the whole year. Like, every week, every month, you're going through finances and saying, like, where are we at? How are we doing? You know, are we going to be? Because I know that for me, it took me a while to, and not even just with my business, but just becoming an adult, it took me a while to get into that mindset of like, I'll just worry about it later. You know, it's a year from now. It's 2 years
It'll work out.
Now. I don't need to worry about it now. And it's like, no, you need to worry about it right now, and like think about it all the time. And that's like really hard to change that mindset. It's been a struggle for me. I mean, I think I'm there. It was a journey.
how many items do you usually produce, like, and how often are you doing shop restocks? What does that look like for you?
So I do those about twice a month,
Okay.
like different items each month. And so
Mhm.
it's about every 2 weeks. And I'm usually listing, I don't know, between 60 and 70 items every 2 weeks.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so I'm working probably 50 hours a week, sometimes 60. It really just depends on the week.
Yeah.
A
And
lot of late,
is
a lot
that
of
just crocheting, or is the 50 and 60 including photography and
it's
Etsy listings and all of
not
that?
just crochet. And so a lot of my time is photographing and making listings and, planning out that's another thing that takes some time too, is planning out what I want to do the next month. I usually have my iPad and draw some ideas, and then I can either try to find a pattern for that, or I'll, try to write my own really
Yeah.
quick. So a lot of the stuff that I've made is patterns that I found, and I'll usually like tag the creators in the post or whatever. But some stuff is stuff that I've written myself, like the teddy bear, where it's like I couldn't even publish it if I wanted to, because it's just these horribly messy notes, because I'm like, I literally wrote this in an hour and then
Yeah.
just prayed that it would work
Yeah.
out the first time so that I can get going on it. But yeah, so it's a lot. It's definitely
Yeah.
more work than, a normal full-time job. I think that's something
Hmm.
a lot of people don't really know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because a lot of business owners aren't really open about how much we actually are working all the time, because
Yeah.
it can be a lot, especially if you aren't good at managing your time. I can get that way sometimes. It's not really like, I feel like that for me has not been like a smooth trajectory. Like, oh, I used to be bad at
Yeah.
time management and now I'm good at it. It's
It's
kind of
not.
depends on the
Yeah.
day.
Hmm.
Whether I, have good time management or not. And the days that it's not good, I'm definitely working a lot longer than I probably could have had I have planned it better. So it's definitely a lot of work, but I'd rather be doing this at the end of the day than anything
Yeah.
else. So
So when did you learn to crochet? When did that start for you?
my grandma taught me how when I was 7. I
Hmm.
to live with her as a kid, and so she taught me how to crochet and how to knit and how to use the sewing machine and all
Oh,
that kind
that's
of stuff.
awesome. Yeah.
And I mostly made, I don't even know, pretty much a lot of random things. My
Yeah.
best friend in middle school, we used to make clothes for our Build-A-Bears and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Just really whatever. I kind of put knitting and crocheting down a little bit throughout the years as I went to
Hmm.
school and,
Yeah.
working for a time, went back to school, stuff like that. And then in the last couple of years when I was finishing up my aerospace degree, it got to a point where like I didn't want to just do it like once a month working
Yeah.
on a project. I was like, I really miss doing this. And, by the time I graduated, that was kind of what I had in my head, was like, I really want to do more of this.
Mhm.
And like, how can I, turn this into something I can do for a living? And yeah, so, but yeah, it's been a while. I'll be 31 in July. So it's been 14 years almost of
Yeah.
knowing how to crochet. And then the micro crochet, I'd say I've been probably experimenting around with it for several years now.
Mhm.
Before I really thought about wanting to make it into a business, I kind of like had here and there kind of messed around with it. But yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
until a year and a half ago that I started doing more of that. So
So, and somebody asked this earlier too. How do you deal with, like, do you deal with hand cramping? Like, you're working with such
mhm.
small thread and needles. Like, what are some of your techniques to make sure that you don't put yourself in jeopardy with that?
I always joke that my hands are just like dead at this point, and like they probably hurt and I just don't even notice it
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, I do try my best to take breaks, and when I'm not crocheting, I try to like, do like the
Hmm.
little exercises and stuff. One thing I've been doing lately is putting like some Epsom salts in the sink with really hot water and just sticking my hands in there for
Oh,
like 20
nice.
every couple of days.
Yeah.
That feels really nice, especially when I'm pressed for time. I got a little behind with orders around Christmas time, like right before
Mhm.
Christmas. And
Yeah.
the funny thing about that was I ended up getting everything out only like a day later than I had planned. And then the post office ended up like, it was like 3 weeks before some of these things even got delivered. Thankfully,
Oh,
I was like scared to check my Etsy. I finally did.
yeah,
And like one person had messaged me. I was like, oh, thank goodness for my customers
yeah,
being so understanding.
yeah,
But anyway, so especially during that time, it was really important for me to like keep that in mind, because I'm like, if I get some sort of like carpal tunnel or something, I'm
yeah.
not going to be able to going at the pace that I'm going. So I'm trying to be more mindful of that. It's something I haven't always been good at, so I'm definitely trying to get better at that. And like when I eat lunch every day, I make sure and take like a whole hour off where I'm not
Yeah,
pushing at all, and I'm just kind of like sitting there doing nothing and not
yeah,
using my hand, like watching a video or something, and because I can tell when my hands start hurting a little bit, I'm definitely working slower. And so it really doesn't
yeah,
benefit me to just work straight through. It may
yeah.
seem like you're getting more done, but you're really not, because you end up just
Mhm.
starting slower after a while, which isn't good when you're trying to meet a deadline. So I'm working on
So,
it.
so with do you have to like work under a magnifying glass, or you just
So
closer
I,
to your face?
I have a magnifying glass that has a light under it, but it gives me a headache, so I don't use it.
Yeah.
I'll probably have to use it at some point. I'm assuming I already have pretty bad eyesight, but I wear contacts. So it's like
Mhm.
I have really good eyesight when I'm wearing my contact lenses, but my eyesight is pretty severely bad without them. My glasses are like this
Yeah.
thick. So for right now, I don't. I have like a open window like next to me.
So
I'm
nice
sitting at my desk.
lighting.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So nice lighting.
good
Yeah.
light is definitely a key. And I do need a new chair though. My
Yeah.
back definitely starts to hurt after a while.
Mhm. Yes.
So for right now, I'm not using something like that, but I have accepted that eventually I might need to start using it. It's kind of
Mhm.
nice. I mean, I have one and it clamps onto the table, which is really nice. It just, after a while, I think it almost makes my eyes strain a little more, just because they're looking at it different.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, eyes are working differently when they're looking through a magnifying glass, and especially for that long of an amount of time. I don't know why.
True.
I get this like forehead headache when I
Yeah.
use it. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's like I can't if I'm filming a video of myself, I can't watch myself through the video. Like I have to like move to the side and look,
Yeah.
around the phone or I get a headache. I mean, but I get like motion sickness. So like I get car sick, I get seasick, like all of my ears don't like that.
Yeah. Well,
So I think I'd probably have the same problem.
your depth perception, and I think that can mess with your equilibrium.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So for your business model and the way that you kind of run your business right now, and it seems like you put yourself in a position where by the time things are ready to sell, you're not having to then be behind the game.
Right.
So like you have it all created.
So I actually do make to order, but when I'm listing
Okay,
for the restock, I'm only listing what I can feasibly make in that next 2 weeks. And
gotcha.
so time there's like a restock or a shop update or whatever you want to call it, I'm shipping things out like that Friday pretty
Hmm.
much before it. So it's like, yeah, like I'll list stuff in my shop, and then I always put a 3-week processing time just in case something goes wrong. And I have often like fully used that 3-week time, but that's why I put it on there, just so that in case anything happens,
Yep.
especially my personal life. I don't know if I mean, I'm sure everybody deals with this, but when I'm having like anxiety or like, just something happens that I'm really bummed out about, it makes it really hard for me to like work. I'm really bad at compartmentalizing, something I'm trying to get better at. But, so if something happens and I'm just like not feeling it that day or not getting as much done, I like to have that 1-week buffer just in case. But in general, I will get everything done. I'll list what I can do in the next 2 weeks, and then by the time those things are shipped out, I'll be having my next like restock or shop update. Yeah.
So you create like one each of the items you're going to sell to
Yeah.
be able to photograph them.
Like,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yep.
And I used to make everything first, but the issue I had with that, and the benefit I think of doing make to order, is that everybody can pick their own color, their own combinations of things.
Gotcha.
So like, for example, I may have only made a blue octopus. That was one of the other items for this month that I forgot to show, but I may have only made a blue one, but you can get it in any of the 4 colors
Yeah.
that I have for my theme of everything else that I'm making, you know? And so people can get whatever color they want. They're not limited to like, oh, there's only a green one left of this one thing and I wanted it in a different color. So it like lets people get more what they want to get instead of just like having to buy what's left over, you know? So
Gotcha. Yeah.
which I
I
think
love it.
avoid more because I've noticed some colors of some certain things are like really slower to go. They usually like my restocks usually go pretty quickly. Sometimes it like shocks me how like fast everything is like going, and then other times I'm like, okay, that wasn't as popular. And that's kind of the helpful thing about the first one of the month is I see what sold out last, even if it was still quickly, and then I can kind of adjust the quantities for the next one, see what sold out first, maybe list a few more of those.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. So do you see yourself, do you want to get to a point where you're creating miniature patterns, or is that like, I would just rather keep making?
I've thought about this. I have I tried to list out some goals for my shop, you know, because we're always thinking about scaling and trying to, you know, see where it could take us. But at this point, it's like I really couldn't make any more things that I'm already making. You know, I'm kind of capped at like what, and so I've been trying to think of other ways that I can, you know, generate different kinds of business, I guess. And I have thought about patterns. I mean, I have a couple regular patterns, as I call them, on my site. I have like a little bralette top I designed like 5 years ago and this little pocket shawl thing. And I did have a lot of fun with those. Something I really like about patterns is that you're only putting a certain amount of work into it up front, and then it's just kind of online forever. Generating.
Yep.
Really nice, you know? And so I really do like that aspect of it. But I don't like, this comes back to time management too. I would have to kind of restructure the way that I do things now, you know, probably list less items in my shop, make that time for creating the pattern, writing patterns, different photography, stuff like that. And, you know, it might take a little while for that to generate income. And so it's like, can I afford to like lose that work time? And, you know, something I've been really focused on lately is actually having my own free time to do things that make me happy that aren't involved in my business. Cause like for a really long time, I didn't prioritize that at all. And I was literally just working and sleeping and that was it. And I like, there was nothing left over. And I felt my creativity just tank like around the holidays. And so see, my first thought when you say that is, yeah, I could use my extra time on the weekends at night to do all of that. And I could, but would that be like good for me? I don't know. So it's definitely something I want to get into. I mean, having a Patreon is something I've also thought about because like things like the banana where I'm only doing a couple of these items, you know, I could release certain things for people who are on the Patreon, or I could give them access to half of the restock before it goes public or things like that. So I've also been thinking about things like that, other things I can do to sort of grow my business, but without, you know, me working more than the 50 hours a week I'm already working. So
Exactly. And I mean, what's crazy is, you know, you may already get some flack from certain people for pricing, but like that may have to go up again. I mean, I think that's once you realize, I know for me, it was, I did craft shows very, very heavily for maybe 3 years. And this was back in like 2016, 17, 18, something like that. And I started realizing as much as, you know, you can't base your prices off what you'd pay is a big one that I hear a lot. It's very true. Because you can't say, well, like, I wouldn't pay that for, you know, but you don't know who would. And I would get to some of these shows and I would sell out of stuff. And at shows, that's an awful feeling because you're like, I have a whole another day left, or I have a whole, you know, 5 hours left, and you can't just make to fill that space. And at that point, you know, like my price has to go up because I can't run out like that. You know, and it depends on the business plan, but I know for us, when started making crochet hooks. I mean, that's the big one that, you know, I really focus on now.
Which is so
I used to get,
I have to tell you, like, it's the coolest thing that you guys chose. Like, I like remember messaging you about that Hobby Lobby yarn that I had, and I'm like, I think this is even thicker than you use. Like, what do I do with it? And you're like, no, that's the perfect yarn to use for this.
Yeah.
And you like told me the specific pattern, and so like I'm still trying to find like some free time to make it, but I'm so excited to get a crochet hook from you and make that, because it's gonna be such a crazy change from like what I do now.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
And literally wearing one of those and like holding one of your little babies on your finger, you know?
Smaller than the strand of yarn, which is
yes,
but
exactly.
Continue what you were saying about.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I knew for me, because I've been one of those people who I've invested in crochet hooks before. I've purchased expensive crochet hooks, whether it was because they were ergonomic, whether it was, you know, because they're handmade. You know, I remember probably 4 or 5 years ago, I was at a point where I was making so much for shows that I was having issues with my hands. So I was like, I've got to figure out something to change and do differently. And I ordered 2 hooks from a lady in Greece who had hand turned them, you know, ergonomic wooden hooks. And they didn't end up doing quite what I thought they would, but I still felt like it was worth it. I was like, I got to support this person. You know, so I know what that means to invest in hooks, but I don't have patience. So I didn't want to buy a custom hook that I had to wait for. And there isn't a lot in stock in the larger hook sizes.
Right.
So like, for instance, furls is a big one. You know, if you want a 10 millimeter or smaller, you're fine. You're going to find something on their website that you can purchase today. But if you want those bigger sizes, they were almost always out of stock. So not only did I couldn't even buy it and wait on it. I just couldn't access it, you know. And so I knew when we started making these hooks, I wanted them in stock. I wanted every single size to always be in stock all the time. Which was difficult to get to that point. And we did still sell out of a few this past Christmas. We thought we had enough. We still sold out of a few sizes, but a lot of that was continuing to up our prices so that they didn't sell out. And that's something that it's definitely like not everyone's opinion of like how that should happen. I had people tell me that, you know, it's not fair that I price my hooks, you know, at where I do. And I said, well, it's also not fair to always be out of them if people want to try them. And it's different for like, and I wouldn't say that for you, that what you're doing is unfair because you're creating something different.
I mean, I have that issue in a different way almost because like my goal is to sell out every restock because like that payment is what I'm surviving off of, you know, for my bills, or being able to create more items and like just support them so that I can keep releasing different items and stuff. But that is where a lot of criticism has come from too, is a lot of people, they get really, really upset because they'll either miss the restock or things are gone quickly. And, you know, I'm still trying to figure that out because it does make me feel really bad. You know, I wish that I could make something for every single person that wants it, but I just wouldn't have the time, you know? And so, and that's actually something else that I like when I have had a couple people ask me, how many things are you going to list this day? And I'll always tell them to PM me because I'm like, I'm just not going to talk about it in comments. I do that with pricing too. I will not answer pricing questions on my comments. If somebody bought from me replies with what they paid, I'll just delete it. I feel bad for doing that. I'm like, I just don't want to open up the door for the criticism. Like what happened on TikTok, it got really out of control on like several posts that there were thousands of comments on, and I just couldn't even keep up with it anymore. And so that's when I kind of abandoned TikTok. I was like, I just don't want to argue or justify anything. Like if you don't want to buy it, like don't. Like I'm not gonna make you. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry. Like I do feel bad sometimes, but then I have to also think of it as like, if I couldn't support myself, I wouldn't be able to list anything. I wouldn't be able to like have any little tiny friends for anybody, you know? And so it's a different thing. Yeah, like with your stuff, I think it is kind of nice because, you know, if I know that when I get that free time and I go and buy your pattern, I'm going to be able to buy a hook.
Yes.
90% sure
Yes.
that there'll be one for me to
Yep.
buy. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yeah, like with my stuff, yeah, it's just, it's like a different thing, I guess, you know?
Yes. And you are still offering custom choices. And that's something,
Yeah.
you know, we have a trade-off. You can't custom order a hook from us unless you custom order a set.
Yeah.
So if someone wants like I think we do 4 or more. So if someone buys 4 or more hooks, they could custom order it. We'll help them pick the filament. You know, we'll completely customize the experience with like the glitter and the resin. I keep them posted. Like it's a fun little, I always say it's like buying a luxury car. Like people do that because they get to see the process and they pick everything out. And so that's a little more rare for us, but you have a trade-off, you know, so either you get this customized piece or you get things that are in stock, and that's where you have this trade-off for your business. And I think that's my biggest takeaway for anyone who wants to run a business or start a business is like, you have to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
And there's no correct answer. And,
for everybody.
and you have to experiment and try different things and see what works for you and what makes you feel good and what makes you feel icky. And, you know.
Experimenting. I've realized over this year that my customers don't like non-animal items. Every time item that's not an animal, it like falls on its face. Doesn't do well at all. Like it doesn't get a lot of attention on the post and it doesn't really sell at all in the shop. And I just think that that's kind of funny. It's like a little thing that I've learned about what my kids want.
They want a pet.
They want it. Yeah. They want a little tiny friend, not like a little like cappuccino or something. You know what? I don't even know what but like something like that. That's not an animal. People want a tiny little animal, which is so funny. I was watching one of your other lives in preparation for today. I think it was like this last one that you had done. And I went to her page and realized that she was following me. I'm blanking on her name right now, but, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to follow her back because I like, have her page before. And she has this little like dragon pet.
Yes.
That ties
and it's the Lucky Mermaid. I had to look back too because I was like, who did I interview last week?
I was thinking about how cute that would be to make in micro crochet, and it would be like a little finger, like a little ring.
Yeah.
A little friend.
Yes.
Going with that, I completely lost track of the question, but that was very cute. I was really excited to find it.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a ring friend. I mean, that's so cool.
The animals, yeah. So people really like the idea of like a little tiny like animal friend, not animate object. So that's just a funny little thing I've learned over this year. It always needs to be an animal. Bless you.
No, I think that's really cool. And I think you know, we've learned that with like color combinations and, you know, figuring out what people like. And you know, I do think that, like you said, timing things and trying to bring new things into your business is probably always going to be the most difficult aspect because you have to move things around. You're gonna have to let something else go.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that
I had,
you know,
custom orders, like custom orders where like people out to me and I would make whatever they wanted. I would give them a quote up front and, you know, we'd go through some patterns that I found and see what kind of fit what they were looking for. And I had to completely let that go. And I feel so bad about it, especially because I have people still on my Google forms and, you know, it's not like they've paid. And so that's, I think, what keeps me from feeling completely horrible that, you know, they just signed up with their name and what they want, you know, but I still have people on that list that I haven't gotten to yet because I kind of drop like that custom order for a while and I really want to get back into it. But yeah, you kind of just like, it's crazy how things like change and everything kind of needs to fit together like a perfect little puzzle for it to go smoothly, you know, and sometimes it just doesn't. And that's okay too. I mean, it's all kind of this learning process, I guess.
Yes. And I think too, like you mentioned Patreon and shout out to everyone who can handle it and make it work. But I've always felt like if I start something like that, like I opened up Instagram subscriptions. Now I did my subscription is like 99 cents a month. And I'm like, you know, you want to do this is like a tip jar. You're not going to get very much from me.
Right.
It's just extra help. If you already support me, you can subscribe. I am going to do some like here and there special
Yeah.
like reels and behind the scenes stuff on that feed. But I felt like if I did a subscription for like $4.99 or if I did a Patreon, like that pressure is always there. And it's like, I feel like, okay, if I do this, I have to put a video out every month, or I have to do a special reel, or I have to make it worth their time. And so I looked into Patreon. I even went through the process, set some things up to see what I would do. And I said, I just feel like you talked about the anxiety. If you're prone to that and it's already kind of weighing on you, just running a business full time and having those concerns, it's not going to be the right fit for everyone. I think for me, I don't want to let people down. Talked about that. Like if you feel bad. And so I haven't been able to do it. I was like, y'all can pay 99 cents a month if you just want to buy me, you know, if I have 5 or 6 people, I could buy a coffee once a month. Yeah. But it is helpful. It's those little ways if people want to support you in that additional way, but making it clear, like, I can't do much for that. You know, this is just a way for you to.
Like, it might just have to be this thing where, like, you know, they just get early access or something.
Yes, that's the big one. Yep.
And I was talking with someone about how I feel like I'd feel bad about that too, though, because what if there's more people on the Patreon than there are items? They're going to be paying this like however dollars a month, not even going to get anything, maybe. Like, who knows? And the person I was talking to was like, well, yeah, but I'm sure that like your followers would still give you that like $2 a month just to like have less competition in the shop. You know, he's like, it just really depends on who it is, you know, and who you're following. That's going to be different for everybody, just on who they are and what they sell. And so I haven't come to any like concrete decisions yet about it, but it's
a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about, and you have to really think it through and like weigh things out. You can talk to the people that are, you know, your supporters, like you said, and get their opinions. You know, we started our hook club. So we have a hook club that is, you know, if you buy a hook from us, you're in if you want to be in. You know, you can sign up for emails. And I remember when we first started, and I sent an email to everyone who had purchased a hook from us in the past, told them how to like sign up so they were on the email list. They got early access. That was really the main thing, is they had early access back when our hooks were selling a little faster. And they would get like a monthly deal. And it could be something as simple as like buy a hook, get free stitch markers. You know, so it's not a huge deal, but something that if they wanted to buy a hook that month, they got something special. But I do remember the first or second release that we did after the hook club was created, we almost sold out because of the hook club. Oh, wow. So like we did the release, I sent it to hook club members. I had already said on Instagram we were having a release on Friday, and I was like, there's gonna be nothing left for anybody. Right. So it can happen. But it is the balance.
I think I would feel guilty, especially because I mean 70 items every restock sounds like a lot to me and you who are making stuff, but for somebody who's trying to purchase, it's really not that many items. Like, you know, and I used to do set times for my restocks on Etsy, but their servers had such a hard time with that now I don't post it all for like 3 days before the restock, and then all of a sudden on the restock day I just stuff's in the shop, and hopefully like people
you have to wait until Etsy loads it.
It's crazy sometimes. And so I'm like, if I did a Patreon, like like I feel like people would be like paying and then maybe not even having a chance to purchase, you know, and I feel like I wouldn't want to join something like that. And so, but like you were saying, it's really not about what we think we would want, because we're one person compared to all of our customers. And you can't really, just like with the pricing, like think about it in those terms, because you just never know.
So I would love your opinion, because I think I just saw a post yesterday where someone had taken all of their stuff off of Etsy and their sales went down dramatically. And so they put everything back on Etsy, and they were like, I guess I'm back on Etsy, you know, as much as I don't like them. There's been a lot of like back and forth and love-hate relationships with Etsy. And I would love to know how you feel about using the platform.
So I feel like I have a not popular hot take about Etsy.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous to talk about it. I usually get screamed at on Facebook when I talk
Oh,
about
you won't.
this.
You won't get screamed at by me.
Personally, and you use Etsy too, so I would love to
Yeah.
hear your opinion. Personally, I think for the fee that we're paying to Etsy, it is 100% worth it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have looked into doing my own website.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying like a monthly cost for your
Mm-hmm.
maintaining your website. You're paying a domain fee. You also have to pay for a payment processor. I think that's something a lot of people forget. Etsy kind of, in my opinion, does a lot of things for me that I would have to do myself individually. And in a lot of cases, it would cost me more money to do it.
Yeah.
My taxes were nice because
Mm-hmm.
they have that connection with QuickBooks and also with TurboTax, which I use TurboTax anyways. So that's really helpful as well. It's easy to get your tax documents. It's easy to look at every month. Okay, what was my profit? What did I pay in shipping? What did I do for this and that? Like that, in my opinion, I'm happy with it. It does seem like a large fee. I think it's what, like 10, 12%, something like that
So
now altogether. Like,
yes, but if the 6.5% is Etsy's cut, whereas the rest of it is stuff that you would still be paying if you had your own website. The 3%, 2.5, all of that is going to be a payment processing fee. Yeah.
And so when I look at it all together as like, around 10 something percent, I'm like, this is
up to 12.
Yeah, 10 to 12. Yeah. Somewhere around there. For me, I don't think I'm getting a bad deal. I actually feel a little defensive when I see people like posting, they're like, Etsy's scamming all of us for money. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel that way. I feel really grateful to have a service that's like doing all of these different things for me. I don't want to do all that work.
Yes.
I really don't.
Yep.
I would like to have a website that maybe looks a little cleaner than Etsy, a little cuter, that I can personalize more, sure. But I mean, I don't want to maintain that website. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I don't have time to do. I don't want to have all these separate payments going out to all these different places. Like, so for me, it's worth it. I do understand, depending on somebody's business model, why it wouldn't work at all. And that's fair too. But yeah, for me, I'm super happy with it. So.
Yeah. Somebody, Made by Mary Bird, said Etsy handles VAT and import fees, so I prefer to use it for shopping small business things outside of the EU. And for me, I remember one of the moments where I was like, oh yeah, I have to stick with Etsy, was when I got the email from Etsy saying that in order to ship to Germany, I had to like register my business with the German government. And I was like, I'm glad, or you got fined. Like if you ship to Germany and you do not have the right paperwork, and how would I have known that as a small business owner shipping off my own website?
Exactly.
I wouldn't have known that. And then dealing like Made by Mary Bird said, they make it easy for me to, now search for, the tax codes or the ID for ship, because I want to ship internationally. So, I feel like a lot of small businesses don't.
Hard to find, but once I found it, I've like written it like times in different places on my planner, so I know where it is. It's a very weird, they actually have something that comes pretty close to what I make, but it's still it was really weird to find, but it was helpful having that with Etsy, like telling you, okay, you need this, or else they're gonna, at the very least, they're gonna open it and like go through all of it. And with the more information you have on that label, like the smoother it is for international shipping.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, there is a level of trust that customers have with Etsy.
Absolutely.
They know the processing fees are going to be correct. They know the website is secure. They know their payment information is secure.
Yeah.
And I have, again, a lot of my stuff is pretty much, I have a little gnat in here. Pretty much everything that I sell is ready to ship.
Right.
So I get a lot of traffic from Etsy search because I have stuff in my shop year round. We've got everything from the hooks to the stickers to the apparel, and like some of it's drop ship, but technically that's ready to ship because I'm not having to process it. And so I think for me, I know I wouldn't get that kind of traffic on my website because I think it's like 60 to 70% of my new sales come from the Etsy search. People coming on there and looking for things. So for me, the 6.5% to Etsy has been 100% worth it for now. You know, and it is unpopular, but I think, again, it all goes back to what I've always said is you have to do what works for you. If it's not working for you, do something else, because there are options.
Absolutely.
But I do have to say, I know Redbubble is taking heat. I have a Redbubble shop for some of my merchandise, and they've started a new tier system, and it's really vague. And if you're on the lowest tier, they charge you, it's anywhere from 30 to 50% of your profit, and you're already making small margins, you know. So it just shows no company that's trying to make money it's never going to be free. They're always going to want a little bit more as their costs go up. And it's, you know, you just have to hope that
on your own either with your own website, because I think that's the misconception is like, well, why am I using Etsy when I can just have my own website? But it's not free to run a website either. I mean, with my stuff, I don't really rely on the search engine, because there's only for a small amount of time, and everybody's coming from Instagram.
That's why I wanted your opinion, because it's a different situation.
The pattern sales that I always have in there, those definitely, all those sales are from people searching for, you know, a pattern or something like that. But with the stuff, you know, I mean, like I could totally switch over. But for me, the things that I get from Etsy, get out of it, like I just like that everything's kind of done together. I don't really need to go out and like make a website or pay for a payment process or have all these different things going on. Like for me, it just feels consolidated, and I like that's worth my time.
Yes,
my time is like the most important resource that I have out of anything. And so the less time I have to spend doing stuff like that, like the more worth it is to me.
And it's the balance. It's time or money. I mean, it really is. It's going to cost you more money to save some time, and you have to find the balance that works for you.
Absolutely.
We will have to have another chat, like just a business chat. Because I feel like we could really talk all day. We are already at an hour. But I'm so glad you came on. If you guys are not following Emily, please go give her a follow. Check her stuff out. I'm really excited to see how your business grows and like what direction you take it in. And we'll definitely do a recap. I'll bring you back on, you know, maybe in a couple of months. We'll see what's happening. Especially towards Christmas. I'm just so excited to see, you know, the new things that you're making. And
me too. I actually already have some ideas for next Christmas, some like super cute holiday stuff. So I'm really excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you again so much. Thanks to everyone who joined us. If you came in late, this will be available for replay on my Instagram feed here, but it will also be uploaded to YouTube. So if you guys enjoyed this, if you like this style of chat, I do this every Friday, most every Friday, and then all of those are on the YouTube playlist. So if you need something to check out, meet some new designers, meet some new creators, there are a lot of them out there, and I think I've only done 2 or 3 re-interviews because I just have so many new people that I want to talk to. So
thank you so much again. I really appreciate you reaching out. It's really cool.
Thank you. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will be live on my YouTube channel on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Central Time, and I'll be back here this next Friday, same time, and we'll have another Pink Sheep and Friends. So until next time, happy hooking, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.